All right, welcome everyone. My name is Seymour, and today I'm going to be talking about Major League Soccer, which is better yet known as the MLS. So, just given a little bit of background history on the MLS, the competition, I guess they started playing in 1996, and it currently consists of 29 teams, with 26 of those being from the United States and 3 being from Canada. The MLS actually was only originally formed with about 10 teams, and the first expansion was 2 years after they formed in 1998, and it expanded multiple times since as well, actually, with most recent expansion being this past season with St. Louis City SC being added into the league, and the first Canadian expansion was back in 2006 as well. For the competition, each team plays 34 games during the season, with 17 of those being home and the other 17 of those being away. The top 8 teams in each conference then move on and make postseason play, which then after that is just a single elimination tournament until a champion is finally ended up being crowned. So now we're going to be moving on into just some of the revenue sources for this league. The MLS as a whole earns most of its money from these TV contracts that they have, the most recent ones being with Fox and Apple, and what they call a single entity structure. And with this structure, the MLS technically owns each team within the league, and owners can come in and pay the MLS a fee to be granted the rights in order to operate a team. So pretty much all revenue ends up belonging to the league pretty much, and the MLS owns everything in the league, especially all of the teams. And just the owners can come in and own the team, own the rights to the team pretty much, and they don't actually own the team. And talking about the TV deal that I mentioned earlier with Fox and Apple, they recently announced, announced a 10-year, $2.5 billion deal with Apple. It actually just went into place this season, so huge there on that part. Just going to get a lot of money from that TV rights deal, and they also recently negotiated a deal with Fox Sports as well. For how the MLS teams make money, they make it primarily through ticket sales, concessions, sponsorships, and also the league redistribution policy. And with that policy, pretty much, like I said, how the MLS owns everything, the MLS pretty much takes a cut out of all money that is made from these teams, and later just redistributes it out to all of the other teams as well. It's not a huge cut. The money that the teams makes mostly goes to the team, but just a little bit of that does go back out to the league, and then they again redistribute it. For the teams that make the most revenue and also the least amount of revenue, Los Angeles FC and also LA Galaxy, both being 116 million and 98 million respectively, turned the biggest profits last year, while the Chicago Fire and Vancouver Whitecaps turned the lowest profits with 25 million and 21 million respectively. Revenue is pretty much different from each team to team and is pretty evenly spread out. I know you can see a pretty big disparity between the first and the last, but throughout the league, there's not a lot of huge jumps when going from one place in to the next. And pretty much how these teams get their value, just determining how value one of these teams is just from local and national, I guess, the market that this team attracts. And teams that have a bigger market and just more value overall are going to turn the most profits and revenue, like with Los Angeles FC and LA Galaxy. Alrighty, some of you, I guess most of you probably know who this is. This is Leo Messi. So Messi actually recently signed a deal with the MLS team Inter Miami, which is around $60 million a year, with a partial ownership stake in the company. Now, this is absolutely huge for the MLS as a whole, because this brings one of the most notable soccer players of all time into the league, granting so much attention, so much attention into the league. I've read something a while ago saying that just the day after that he joined Inter Miami, all of their matches for the rest of the season were sold out. So just absolutely huge for bringing attention into the league, and that will bring us into our financial opportunities of the league. And you see that first one there, the star players joining and attracting attention into the league, especially with Messi, when the MLS is starting to bring in more notable players, especially players that don't necessarily just have American nationality, have other nationalities as well, just big international players. with them bringing these players in, this is huge financial opportunity for the league, not only just for one certain team, just as more players keep on coming into the league and joining different teams, just the exposure that each team in each market is going to get is absolutely huge for the MLS. And that second point, the growing lucrative TV rights deals, like I mentioned earlier with Apple and Fox, these growing amounts of dollars that are being paid for these TV deals is just it's crazy how much the MLS has grown just from these TV rights deals. So just as these TV rights deals just keep on growing and growing, that's absolutely huge for the league in a financial sense. Now that third point, addition and growth of teams. For the 2022 season, all but one team in the MLS had a positive growth in just the value of the team, and I think the one team that didn't have a positive growth just stayed neutral. So these teams growing and becoming more valuable, and also new expansion teams being added into the league is just only going to bring in more and more revenue in for the league, which again, like I said, with that redistribution policy, will just be redistributed out to all of the other teams and really just bring in more profit for every team in the league. So with these opportunities, there are some financial costs and also challenges that come with that. One challenge for the league as a whole that they have been facing for a while, not as much recently, but for a while, is just the overall slow growth of the league. Just looking back in the past, MLS was not really a notable league until more recently, when they've been used to losing a lot of star players and also just fans to more overseas leagues like the Premier League, La Liga, all of those other different leagues. So with these new exposures being brought into the league, like with Messi signing and just all of these new players being brought in and teams, this is not as much a cost or a challenge anymore, but it still is something that you need to think about just when seeing how they've had this slow growth and how it could possibly go back to this. Now, for each of the general teams, just their biggest challenges are just player salary, stadium cost, operational costs. Usually see this happen in every single league, whether that's professional or collegiate. These are, I guess, not with player salaries, but that's usually just the main costs that are there within each league, both MLS and other leagues. One way that they can possibly solve these costs and also challenges is just by taking more risks, like bringing in a Messi, even though he's not in the prime of his career anymore, in the later end of his career, just taking these risks, bringing in notable names and faces into the league and just hoping that they pay off. Again, Messi was a huge stepping stone into bringing more international talent into the league, so hopefully we'll see some more moves like that happen sometime in the future, so these possible challenges will not have as big of a looming effect over the league. So for viewership, for last year, about 10 million people attended games in person. I think the numbers right below 10 million, but yeah, the total attendance was 10 million for the league, with 200,000 viewers on Fox networks and per game at least, and 443,000 viewers per game on Fox itself. And I couldn't really find any numbers on international viewership. This is most likely due to the league not being as notable overseas as compared to here in the States. Now, for the competitive parity of the league, they do have a draft. It's called the MLS Super Draft, and this pretty much drafts college eligible players into the league. They do have a salary cap. It is about $5.2 million per team for this year. They do have free agency as well. This applies to players who are at least 24 years old with 5 years of league experience. So if you don't have that, you can't enter free agency, but if you do have that, you can enter free agency. And for the just competitive parity of champions, there were 11 champions crowned in the past 15 years, with LA Galaxy having the most of those with a total of 3. Now, some questions for you all to ponder and think about is, what do you all think are some of the measures that can potentially be taken to counteract some of the financial challenges that the MLS faces? And another one is, do you think that single entity ownership structure that I mentioned earlier that the MLS follows is good or bad for the league, and then why or why not for that? And then here are all of the links and sources that I used, and thank you guys for watching my presentation.